scary filming it because we had no idea whether it was going to be good or well received or whether it was going to work. We were working for this first time with a lot of sort of technology and CGI that I don't think either of us had sort of worked with before. I'd never worked as an actor and he'd only worked with other flesh and blood humans, so it felt like new ground for both of us. I think that's something that really united us, and it kind of feels mad as well, the circumstances you find yourself in, and for all of those reasons it was a really great experience. But I don't think we had necessarily the emotional freedom that we had in the second season because we hadn't been a success by that point, and I think so we were coasting that line of, is this going to work? Whereas when it hit and it did work, that meant that as actors and production, generally speaking, we could really just enjoy it a lot more the second season. So yeah.
Well, we'll get to audience questions here in a moment, so just if you guys are lining up. Inevitably, we always get asked, our guests always get asked a couple of the same questions, like, for instance, like, do you have a favorite characteristic of Rose, like, that as you look back as your time as her, is there something that's endearing or a favorite for you that's sort of near and dear?
Yeah. Okay, well, what I loved about Rose is that she wants something more out of her life, and as a young person, she realizes how easy it is to get stuck in a sort of humdrum pattern of domesticity and, sort of regular expectations. And you can see her real struggle with that, and I can totally relate to that. And she just goes for it, and I just love that about her. And she continues to go for it to the point where she sort of feels like, to me at least, that she's running the show. She's behind. I mean, feel free to disagree, but I feel like she is very much morally behind the Doctor. She often brings him back to a moral compass where he starts to
humanizes him.
Yeah, and also sometimes he gets carried away with his own ego, which is understandable. He is, a man of many talents and 900 years old. But she sort of keeps him focused, let's say.
Moment or episode?
Well, I always love, actually I have three. I love Tooth and Claw because it's so funny. And it was so funny to make. And I don't know, it just felt super fresh and kind of ridiculous and kind of exhilarating because we were we're always being chased, but I don't know, there was something about it that just rocked my world, and I love it to watch. It's one of my favorites to watch. And then I have a real passion for Father's Day. Oh, by the way, happy Father's Day. It's Father's Day here, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So the episode Father's Day I love because it's very emotional. It was an opportunity for me to sort of connect with that side of the character a bit more. And then I really love Doomsday just because it was just so important to me personally.
As you now look back with a little time, and there's been many doctors and many companions and so many adventures. What are your thoughts on it now as you look back? And you're at cons, you encounter so many fans. I mean, you have a different perspective because you're not in it anymore. In this sense. What's your perspective on that?
Well, my perspective on it now that I have children of my own who are growing and passionate about certain things in the world. I think through my children I've been able to understand what those things mean, like the sort of passion behind the fandom of Doctor Who. And what I feel so moved by is that so many people I meet who are massive fans of Doctor Who have a story that unites them all. And I suppose, and some of those stories are quite challenging, that it's hard, and it's like there's a lot going on for a lot of the fans of Doctor Who, and you realise that it's a show that has somehow united them, and they've been able to find their own tribe, and they're accepted for their differences or their struggles. And that really moves me as a mother. I find that so, I love meeting people who are vulnerable enough to tell me their stories, and some of them are really tough. And it's just amazing that a TV show can sort of support or change the course of someone's mental health. You know what I mean? Like, it's mad to me and wonderful. And the older I get, and the older my children get, I feel more emotional and connected to the people that love the show for those reasons.
I wouldn't give in to peer pressure, no way.
So, at a young age, you had aspirations to be in the entertainment industry.
Oh my god, from being a child, and also I was really lucky, like all my cinema influences, because I'm a little bit, tiny bit older than Mandip. All my references are kind of the 80s, and cinema at that time, they just, you think of it, of the exposure as kids that we all had to these incredible stories, like for me, the Goonies, and kind of revisiting now, like all the Indiana Jones as well, so that I'm ready for the next one, and just this incredible time as a child watching cinema, watching films like E.T. and being taken on these extraordinary journeys, but realising, I think it was a moment watching Goonies where you just thought, it's someone's job. I mean, I was sliding down that water slide and finding a load of treasure a job, and I want that job. And so that for me, I was like, right. And so it was very naive, and it wasn't necessarily going to work out, but it did! Yay! So it's just, I think that was the thing, and I was at school at the time, and I think you were, where the kind of idea of wanting to do something like this was treated like a hobby, and I think that that's the most disheartening thing when even if your family is supporting you and your friends behind you, if society still considers the arts as a hobby or a sideline, it's like if you took art and culture out of our societies, what we would all be missing, and sometimes the attitude towards it when we were younger that it wasn't a proper job. So I'm here to tell you it is.
Yesterday we had Sean Austin from Goonies sitting on that very couch. But it's wild to think that just like how shows moved like that and it acted like that inspired you to get into acting, that there's a legion of people who are watching you and also being inspired to do the next thing in life. And so have you discovered that as you encountered fandom?
Yeah, I think that's the thing with you guys, with the Whovians, you're just so articulate and beautiful at explaining what the world means to you, or what a particular episode means to you. And I think me and you particularly weren't necessarily, we were quite naive to that before we got into it. And it's been so beautiful to know that it's you can't predict who it reaches and who it moves, and we're just so lucky that we're just this like ginormous family that have got the same love, and also it was there before us, we're a moment, and it'll carry on a long time after, and we can then be a part of the fandom and the audience now, because we've passed on our batons. Do you want to speak?
Mandip, how about...
I'm just looking at Jodie, I've missed her so much. It's been the longest time we haven't seen each other, it's been months.
Mandip, how about you? Like, how did you get into...
I think it was more of a selfish route. I'm one of 7 kids. One of the youngest, so I think it was just more of a thing of
trying to entertain and probably get attention, and also it was massively encouraged. So when I look back at videos, I'm so annoying.
It was encouraged? Wow.
Yeah, I used to get paid like 50p to sing like Hindi love songs to my brother, which is kind of weird. Yeah, so I think it was more of a selfish thing. I actually didn't really know people did it until I got to about 8 or 9, and then I used to see people that looked a little bit like me on television. So I was like, oh my god, they're actually on television. We sort of, as a family, didn't really know how to navigate that world. So I was only ever doing it like plays at school, and then it was actually my education that helped me go further and further at school. They were like, we think you've got something, because I never wanted to do anything else really but other than be an actress, but we didn't know how to do it. So it was always education that went. At primary school, we encouraged it. At high school, they helped me get to college. College helped me get to university. University helped me get an agent. So I've always really had help from my education. But I think later it wasn't as selfish. Well, in a way, it almost felt like that's literally what I was here to do. I never really questioned it. I was like, duh, that's what I do. and thankfully it's worked out. But yeah, really, it was a selfish thing. And now, obviously, when you do such a show like this, you realise it's actually not for you. Yeah, it's for other people. When you watch it, you go, I love doing it, but this stuff is for other people. So.
And you're born in the UK, but you have Indian descent. Do you have any family, friends that are in India that are, what's their awareness of?
I don't have friends anywhere. No, so a lot of my family are in England, but actually my family don't really they know what I do obviously, but no one's really like, oh my god, she's on television. No, it's just keep it real. Yeah, and I'm like, ma'am, can you say that magazine? Because I'm on that. She's like, oh, we saw that. Like, that just is not like, we were living in newsagents growing up. I did other shows, I still worked in my dad's shop. Whilst I was doing Doctor Who, I'd still go to their shop, talk to people that I'd seen growing up. It's not actually a thing away from London. No, impressed by you, Willie, babe.
I'll show pictures of my mom, like this picture, you'll see it say, why did you tuck your shirt in? You shame. So tell us, as you approach this role, no one, all the doctors, I've had the privilege, you're actually completing, I've had the privilege to host all the doctors, the modern doctors, yeah, so, and none of them grew up thinking, I'm going to be the doctor someday. I mean,
I certainly didn't.
Yeah, it's implausible, right?
Yeah.
And so, as the opportunity came about, did it seem like it was an impossibility, and how did that all transpire?
Well, so Chris Chibnall, who was our showrunner, had written Broadchurch, and obviously it's a completely different role. He was, we were really good friends, and I think the thing, I would if someone had seen Broadchurch, they would have never said come and audition for the Doctor. But he knows me in between scenes, and the kind of, the person in once you say cut, and the fidgeter and slightly hyperactive and completely distracted and then off on a tangent and all those kind of things. And we met up for a coffee during our kind of press junket time for one of the seasons, and he'd already been announced as a showrunner, so I asked him if I could be a baddie. And he was like, actually, I'd really love you to consider auditioning for the Doctor. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? So that in itself was the most curveball conversation, but once that seed is planted, I mean, it's like the toy shop door has been creaked open, and then you try and get your wrench in to open it, because I was like, I have to get this role. And I had a good few months of really trying to do the best tapes, the best auditions, the best stalking. I really went to town. And I was really lucky because he felt that it was a fit. And weirdly, I never thought I would say this, but the Doctor is the most of myself really than any of the roles that I've done, and that was the thing that I thought, how am I going to play the Doctor? And Chris was wonderful at guiding me to just go, you need to, it's so much more instinctive than you think. And yeah, it was so fun because of that, because I just felt that all my kind of quirks and I suppose, edges that kind of slightly exhaust other people, I was allowed to put into a role and everyone went, well done. I went, thank you.
Some people have thoughts about being the first female doctor. So as you kind of look back on it and see, how do you feel like the conversation has shifted, and how do you feel like playing the doctor has affected that idea?
I don't know, I suppose in the, it's so weird, the conversation for myself is because I've never approached any role on how do I play Beth Latimer as a woman playing Beth Latimer. I've never, it's never been a part of my mindset when playing a role. And so to me, the Doctor was the ultimate in anyone qualifying because I'm playing an alien. So if you wanted to be method, I think you're going to have to do a really long audition process to try and find someone who is really authentic. And so for me it felt, I know what the kind of concerns were, but in that sense I just, that's not going to be the soundtrack of my mind in any way, and no one's opinion I kind of was ever going to be based with any of those. But I suppose what it did feel like was, particularly in this show, was that, it's incredible, but what is exciting is that it becomes not a part of the conversation as well, because I'm already not the only female doctor. So to me, it's old news, and that's what it needs to be, in that sense. But it was, it was 2017, so it was, it was time. So, but it's really exciting that what it is now is that we are all the Doctor. Everyone who plays that role, we are a family of doctors. And it's a wonderful family to be a part of.
Well, 2017, before the pandemic, feels like it was like 20 years ago, right?
Yeah,
so long ago. And as we talked about many times here on stage over the weekend, how important representation is, how important it is to see someone who looks like yourself on screen, and how that changes you at a young age, and it kind of informs you as you grow up. And I gotta imagine that you've had so many fans come up to you and just tell you how important it has been, even though the Doctor comes in all shapes and sizes and forms, that being the first female Doctor, how much of that
yeah, definitely. And I think the thing that's really beautiful is seeing people, I think for both of us, seeing people wear your costume and realising that it fits all, that's it. And that, regardless of however, whoever you are, you're the Doctor in the costume, and it's beautiful, and it felt like it represented me, but it feels like it represents so many different people as well, and I think that that's what's wonderful about it, and that, we've always been, it's been expected, as I can only speak as like my own experience, but as a woman, I had that thing of, it was never a question that you didn't look up to men. Of course you do. In that sense of like, of course a man can be a role model to you, but when it's flipped the other way, there's like suddenly, like, oh, but who are the boys going to look up to now? It's like, no, that's still okay. I'm still fine. You can look up. But like anyone, and you just think for all of us, and once you're in these characters, it doesn't matter who plays that role. If you identify with and have a love and an affinity to that role, then I think that's the joy of Doctor Who, is there's someone for everyone there, and I think the themes of inclusivity are the most important, and our show celebrates that on a global scale in a beautiful way, and I think that's what makes us so proud of it.
Yeah. And I think the only thing to add is it's not just important to see yourself, it's also a place where people learn stuff, so it's also important to see other people. If you're not used to seeing, I don't know, I mean, I'm sure we're all used to seeing people of colour, but apparently back in the day we weren't, in 2017. But it's also there to teach other people, I think. It's all well saying, it's great to see ourselves, but we only need to look around and see our family, we see ourselves. It's there to teach people.
Absolutely. Wonderful.
Don't get clapped every time you say something.
Well, we have some fans that are here, so let's go over here.
Hi.
The 13th Doctor can ask you questions.
Hi, Jodie and Mandip. I've forgotten everything I was going to say. I'm so sorry.
First of all,
I wanted to say thank you, Jodie, for playing the Doctor and kind of breaking through that barrier for us and doing such a brilliant job with it. I would love to play the Doctor myself one day, and I never even considered that until the day you were announced. And Mandip, I can be your friend if you want.
I won't.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
My question is for both of you. I was just wondering, Jodie answered this bit already, but I already had it ready. Kind of what your inspiration was that you pulled from when developing your characters and their mannerisms and such. Like I know Jodie was already friends with David, so maybe she had kind of thought of him when thinking of how the doctor
I didn't. I'm so sorry, David. All right. No, but can I tell you one of my influences? Doc Brown. It's not a rip-off. It was just those moments of homage. There you go, that's fine.
I think I was inspired by me.
No. No, do you know what I think I tried to do throughout? I don't know if you came across the mannerisms,
I was constantly aware that the companions are sort of like the gateway for the audience. So I tried to be relatable. I tried to be like emotionally relatable, that kind of stuff, and just constantly open and just be the audience. How the audience might ask that question, might think that question, might take the response of the doctor, would they be offended? It was constantly going, I'm not just playing Yaz, I'm playing everybody who's watching it going, asking those questions. But I think in terms of mannerisms, I'd like to think she's definitely different to me and less handy and all that kind of stuff. Because actually we're quite similar in that sense, isn't it? Like talking like that. But then when you see her doing it, you're like, two people can't be miming.
Thank you. Good question. All right, let's go over here. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Khaleesi. It feels like I've kind of been stalking you all, but
we don't mind.
I have a question. So basically, how did you feel when you first get the role, and then how did you feel when it ended? Because I know I cried for like a good 5 minutes.
So getting the role was a bit of a mixed bag for me because I was obviously delighted, I really wanted it, and I mean this with the utmost respect to it. I knew that suddenly put me in a goldfish bowl as well, because I'm friends with David, and I knew full well that if you play the Doctor in Doctor Who, people are probably going to know who you are on a different level to the work I'd done before. So there was so much excitement, but there was a sense of nervousness for me because I was so worried about how that would affect my family and my life day to day. And I have to say, all those concerns are just, it's only ever been positive interaction. So it was never the terrifying. What I thought it was going to be was like, you won't have seen it, but in Notting Hill, there's a character played by Reese Evans, and he comes out of his house. It's like those people going, and I was like, oh my god, it's going to be like that. And then it wasn't, and I was a bit like, I'm here. I'm happy it wasn't. But then at the end, oh my gosh, my bottom lip, when I could see all the heads of department checking that the take was good, was usable, and the director was saying, are you happy? Is everyone happy? Is the makeup happy? Is Coidy, the cameraman, are you happy? And everyone's nodding, and I was like, they better be happy now because the blobs of water are coming out of my eyes. And to say, 5 minutes, it was about 8 hours. I was just so emotional, and I could still cry thinking about it because it's a grief in a way that is full of happiness, but you're just so sad to let it go. I cried when I got it, and I a little bit cried when it ended. But I just you were hang on ice cream. We've been eating loads of ice cream. No, but when Jodie said there were real tears because you're not just saying bye to the characters. It really dawned on me that was us saying sort of like not bye to each other, we see each other, but every single day, saying bye to the crew, saying bye to Wales. When I watched that scene back recently, and I nearly cried for myself. I was like, oh my god, you poor thing, look, but when I got it, I knew how exciting it was. I hadn't done that much work actually on reflection when I got it, so I just knew it was
I was so excited to do it. There wasn't a single thing I was worried about. Actually, I was worried about the weather in Wales, so I bought myself some Doc Martens. It rains a lot, but we do love Wales.
Thank you. All right, please go ahead.
Hello again.
Hi, we'll try and be a bit more succinct actually because we're taking 20 minutes to answer each one.
So my question is was it daunting to change the status quo with companions? The last time that we had seen multiple companions was with Matt Smith, with Amy Pond and Rory. So was it daunting to have 3 companions in the TARDIS?
I think for us, because it's all we knew, it felt like totally at home and normal. And then obviously for us, when Brad and Toast weren't in it, it was then John. I think we noticed then we were kind of, it's like, oh, we've gone down to 3. But because it'd always been 4 of us, we were in a situation where it was apparent from the crew, because they'd shot on like smaller teams in a way, and actually it takes a lot longer to get everybody's coverage. But you were forever kind of going, oh yeah, we need to really make sure everybody gets their bit. And I think production-wise, it worked energy-wise, it worked story-wise, but actually when you're shooting, there was a lot of efficiency that was required to get everybody, especially when Brad had decided to sit down on a chair in the corner somewhere else, because apparently his character would sit in this very dramatic scene. So like, you know, so it was things like that. But as far as for us, that was all we knew.
No, also as well, like when you go in it, Chris is confident that that's going to work. We're called the fam, and you're excited. You sort of like say, don't know any different, and you think this is a right way to head. And like I say, it's happened before, so it wasn't scary at all. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay, so I noticed that John Barrowman has made several appearances on Doctor Who, and I was wondering if any of you have any memories you'd like to share about him?
So yes, we had within our storyline, we were like all together at certain times. We had a lovely time. It was amazing, wasn't it? We had such a fun time. But we were within a cast that were very. It was a huge ensemble. You guys are better at this. Me and Mandip are terrible at the titles of the episode. No, tell them why though. I'll tell you why. It's because they're not on the scripts ever, and we don't get told what they're called, and then we get told after it goes out. So by that point, we've given them a totally different title.
You couldn't divulge the rest of it, but like one day you'd say what it all meant. So I was actually hoping to see what it all meant because I never saw
Oh right. Have I never said? So, well, particularly the coat. So the most important part for me, the coat has pockets. So everyone gets that reference. You get it. So there was pockets, but there was no buttons or buttonholes because I didn't want anything that was unnecessary. For me, it was never going to be something that I fastened. It was always going to be what felt like this beautiful extension of air and space, and to create movement and things. And I think the wonderful thing that Ray put in was he put weights in the bottom of the coat, so there was such a fluidity to it the whole time, and it gave it its own shape. The shape was a kind of homage to Amelia Earhart in the kind of cut of it. There's inside, the suffragettes colours were on the inside of the sleeves. There was my beautiful pride stripes all the way on the insides of the lining, and then within the trousers there was a lot of references that I'd say to Ray, and then he'd come back with these beautiful ideas. But there were things like the material was made. Some of the material of my costume was made in my hometown. Some of my socks were Welsh, and you know, it was things like that. That there was like details where they were as relevant to necessarily the Doctor, but there was bits that were kind of made it personal to the where Doctor Who set, but then also for us and me personally. But the whole thing is a collaboration. I really wanted a hood. I didn't use it as much as I should have done, but I really wanted it. But what I didn't factor in is that it's always freezing and I was always cold. Always cold. And these guys would be like, I think my character would have 4 jumpers in this scene, or 4 sweatshirts, and I was like, okay, I'm just, you know, but the whole thing of it was the detail. The earring was, it was the stars coming down, and it was 2 hands, and it was to represent my hands and like humanity on the other ear, holding hands, but just the whole thing was so magical because Ray, obviously the costume designer, designed it, but I felt like I had such an input that I could confidently go, I came up with some of that. You know, it was so beautiful, but it's your own, you own it, and every doctor gets to do that, and that is a gift, because you don't often get that on jobs.
Thank you.
I hope that gave you some insight.
No, beautiful.
Hi, I'm Rose. This is my first Awesome Con.
Nice to meet you.
And I was wondering what your favorite episode's shooting was.
Go on.
I think I've got two. I think it was Demons of the Punjab because it really resonates with me. It was beautiful. You know, it was just really nice to have for Chris and Vinay to have written an episode that was very specific for Yaz, the character, I think. And then the second one was Rosa Parks, kind of similarly, because it resonated with me, but I also thought actors in there were brilliant, the sound was great, I thought it looked amazing. So those, and I really enjoy the historical episodes being in the sci-fi genre with reality like that.
I think mine, I definitely agree with those, because also we were so lucky because we were in Spain in one of the episodes in South Africa, and that, I mean, what a gift of a job that is. But I think the one that really, for me, will always be the most precious is The Woman Who Fell to Earth, because it gave me the best entrance ever into any character. I got my own little soundtrack when I stood up, and it just, the whole thing of it, and also the transition of finding the Doctor throughout, and finding who I wanted to be, and finding these guys, and the chemistry, and then the hero speech of realising and knowing who you are, and then at the end of it, kind of creating this costume and this look. I absolutely loved it, and I thought, if this is how we're starting, this is just going to be the time of my life. And it was. Thank you for that question.
Well, as we sort of conclude our time, like what's next for you? Like what's I mean, take a breather, and but as you kind of look in the future, like what do you see for yourself?
Well, I don't know, for both of us, I think it's just more that what you want to do is be continually challenged and to not repeat. And the wonderful thing about Doctor Who is when you're never going to read something and go, oh, it reads like Doctor Who. It's like, it doesn't, nothing does. So I think for both of us, it's just to push the boundaries of our like abilities, and to always, we've said this before, but it's like a good feeling when you're scared. When you read something and you're scared, that's a great feeling, because you're like, okay, this is going to keep me on my toes, and you know, and it's going to be challenging. But I think, you know, there's, for all of us, there's obviously television, but recently I saw Mandip in a play. You know, I haven't done a play in over 10 years. I would love to do one, but because of it being in London as well, we're so lucky that that's a part of it as well. It's not just filming, that there's theatre as well. And I think it's just about us just being lucky enough to work. That's all, isn't it? You never want to take it for granted.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jodie. Here she goes, trying to find where we parked. Spotted. We're on our way home. I did a horrible job of vlogging today, so now it's a car vlog while I eat goldfish. First of all, I have space themed eyeshadow that I did in the car. Second of all, I got a lot of compliments on my sweater vest, but I was not brave enough to give anyone my business card because it's on my Etsy shop. So I taped some clips of the panels that I'll insert, and then I had a autograph with Mandip Gill, Jodie Whittaker, and Billie Piper. So Mandip was first, and I had a really long conversation with her. I voice recorded it, but it's not like very clear, so I don't know if future me is going to find a way to edit that in, but I might, I'll see. But I gave her a hat that I crocheted for her, and she really liked it, and she said that she loves the hat. She thanked me a lot for it. Then I told her that she was really pretty and that I was in love with her, and then she asked me to say it louder for Jodie to hear. So then I yelled it to Jodie, and Jodie laughed because Jodie's table was right next to Mandip's, and they don't have a curtain in between them today. And I asked her to draw, I asked all three of them to draw something for my tattoo. So I asked her to draw something space related, and she took out her phone and Googled space drawings, and then she drew a star. She just took her time a lot with me and talked to me, even though there was a line behind us and that people were waiting. We had to take a picture together because there was options to pay for a selfie for some of them, not all of them. So I took a very nice picture with her. Then I did Billie Piper, and that one was a little shorter. I didn't choose a selfie option. And then she drew a planet for me, and it actually looked really good. And then I did Jodie Whittaker, and she did not have a selfie option. Her line was longest, and it was kind of like strict and not rushed, but I think that that's why she didn't have a selfie option. So I gave her a hat as well. Why are you laughing? We're gonna hear you chewing? Okay. We didn't eat all day. So now we're eating goldfish and pretzels. Yeah, so I gave Jodie a hat and had her draw a TARDIS for me. My interaction with Jodie is like way shorter than Mandip's. But I mean, I guess I kind of expected that since her line was really long. Am I missing anything?
You met Billie.
I said that already.
Oh. It's that part?
We weren't allowed to. We tried to vlog for Jodie, but we weren't allowed to. I guess that's it. So I'll see what else I'm gonna insert into this vlog when it's feature editing me. My next vlog is probably gonna be more crochet stuff or craft stuff, or if anything else comes up, then I'll be vlogging anything interesting. So thank you for watching.